Your marketing machine is the key to success in your small business, but is it optimized to attract your ideal clients without breaking your budget? Hey, it's Melanie Benson here. Glad you're here. I'm America's leading small business optimizer, and this weekly series is all about making your business work 10 times better. And I can't think of anybody more perfect for today's conversation around marketing, and that's Heather Porter. Heather Porter is, hi.
Sorry, I got a little bit too excited too quickly.
Let me tell you a little bit about Heather. Heather's co-founder of digital marketing and publishing agency Autopilot Your Business out of Sydney, Australia now?
Sydney, but then we of course have our US division as well with Andrew.
That's right. So you guys are like all over the world. They teach small business owners how to create a brand and get more leads online through speaking engagements, books, digital magazine, online footprint, and their weekly podcast show. So, hi, Heather. I'm so glad to have you. And Heather and I go way, way back. As a matter of fact, we were both involved in Women's Speakers Association, but we were involved even before that. But I don't even know that we really knew that till later, right?
I know, yeah. Actually, I remember you very well the first time I saw you. You were in Sydney and you were speaking at the Ultimate Marketing Seminar that was run by Chris Howard and Universal Events. And that's when I first saw you. And then I invited you to come to the Billionaire Adventure Club, which I used to run with Chris Howard. And that's sort of how we came full circle. Now we ended up with Women's Speakers Association.
I love it. It's such a small world. And I'm so glad you're here today. And getting to know Heather and her partner Andrew and what they've done, I've just been mind blown. And, one of the reasons is they solve a problem for business owners that is so big. And I know when my clients are facing this problem, it's really one of the most fundamental flaws in most business owners' strategies to try to grow. And it's, once you get this fixed, it's almost like everything else starts to work better. So, Heather, let's talk a little bit about the problem you guys solve for business owners.
Sure. So, the big problem that a lot of business owners have right now is what to do to get traffic to their websites. Mm-hmm. And because SEO and everything online about traffic is always radically changing, the one fundamental that never changes is putting out good content. Not noise, but really good content. So we help businesses develop a plan of publishing, whether it's podcasts or magazines like we have, or ebooks or blog articles, and then look at repurposing that content and putting out in different places to get traffic. That's just one thing though, but the biggest thing we do is developing your lead funnel off the back end of your content. And all that simply means is using specialized trackable links inside your content, or if you have a YouTube video under your YouTube video saying, go here to get my cool free thing, or go here to sign up now, taking them into a web page that then is, of course, trackable. So you can literally see, Melanie, like all the content you put out, you're not doing it in vain. You're seeing and testing every step of the way where people are coming in to sign up with you and what your conversions are like.
Yeah, and you guys actually taught me some techniques there that were so valuable.
Cool.
Hey, let me cut for just a second. I'm getting a lot of reverb.
Okay.
Can you bring my audio down on your side?
Yep. How's that?
Let's see. So I think that's a little better. It's still kind of a little bit, but let me try one thing. I don't know what it is, but sometimes on Skype it just kicks in the most random places. Okay.
Okay. Yep.
So with that being such an important piece of business, how did you guys decide to build this, and let alone you build it, but build it as partners with Andrew?
Well, everything that we do, we test. We want to know that it actually works. We're big like that. So basically, as we were looking to grow our business, we initially started just doing websites for people. And the big problem off the back end of that was, okay, I have a website, but now what? How do I actually get it out there, and how do I get the traffic coming in? And so many people wouldn't know what content to create as well. They were just they had this website and they had no idea what the market actually wanted. So then we went about teaching and learning how to track, keywords and find out what the actual general public wants, or more specifically, a market wants, and looking at ways of creating content that's specifically geared at that. Like one thing, for example, we always say is, if you have no idea where to start, just write down your top 10 questions that people ask you all the time, because you already know that people want that information out of you, and create blog posts and create videos around it. But remember, keeping in mind that it's no longer about just putting content on your website, it's about putting content all over the place online. So YouTube, but if you put it in YouTube, you also want to put it in MetaCafe and Vidler and Vimeo and all the other different video sites, because you're spreading your net from that one piece of content. And of course, in that video that you put online, you have that beautiful little description box underneath the video. The very first sentence should be, like this video, go check out my free blueprint, or sign up for my webinar, or whatever you're offering to get people in the door with your business. And that's, like I said earlier, that's where you put that little trackable URL into a landing page. Never send somebody to the homepage of your website in those descriptions. They're incredibly powerful. If somebody watches a video and they like you, let them know how to engage with you, but in a trackable way.
Yes, Sue, let's talk about that, because that sounds like a strategy that could really be so valuable for people.
Yeah.
And you know, everybody's doing all these different things, and they're spending a lot of money, they're spending a lot of time, but they're not necessarily getting the leads. Do you have a specific technique that you want to teach us today that will help someone put this into action?
Okay, so here's the technique, and we're all busy as business owners, and it's incredibly stressful to think, okay, yeah, this is all well and good, but how do I get started? I love webinars. I love them for two reasons, especially with, say, Instant Teleseminar or GoToWebinar.com. Mm-hmm. Yes, it's a tool. It costs sort of anywhere around, I think, $80 or $100 a month. But what you do is you set up a live webinar, and your intention is to use it as a tool to force you to create content, because once it's live and once you put it out there to the market, including your database, you're forced to create some good content. Whether or not one person shows up or 10 people show up, or even more for the first one, is irrelevant, but just to make yourself put something together. So you're going to be putting together slides, and also, of course, a bit of script or bullet points for you to talk about on your live webinar. Make sure it's recorded. Don't rely necessarily on GoToWebinar's recording. Yes. Also record it secondary. Use something like ScreenFlow if you have a Mac, or with Camtasia. There's something called, it's Camtasia, and it's for PC, and I can't remember the name because I'm such a Mac girl.
Is it Jing?
Jing, or yeah, look at the Camtasia websites. It's a recording software that records your screen.
Okay.
So you want to do that as a backup, and basically you have this recording. If you can pump out a webinar once a month, a live one, you're going to start to build your brand that way. But then you take that recording and you can split it apart into an audio and a video, because you have slides and you're talking and you have great content. So you take that video and you put it online on YouTube and all the different video sites, but more importantly, embedding it on your own website in, say, a blog post. And then you take the audio, and you can even turn that into a podcast if you have good audio. You can transcribe it and get that written into a blog post as well. So that's a really good place to start. So you can literally start out with your top 10 frequently asked questions and line up 10 webinars over the next 10 months and create content in this way.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I love it. And I've been using that strategy myself, not the webinar every month, but yeah, and it's really helped a lot in terms of that authority positioning as well, and pulling in more of the ideal clients. And all the time I find somebody who ends up buying something, and I ask them, where'd you find me? And they'll say, oh, well, I signed up from LinkedIn on that webinar you did. And I'm like, it's so nice to know that these things work. So you covered a video tip. We did the webinar tip, and we talked about landing pages.
Yes.
So pulling all those three things together is a really simple system that is going to allow you to make sure that you are tracking and paying attention to what's working and what's not working, which I think is really key, because so many people, that's the biggest challenge that they don't even realize, is they don't know what's not working. So it's just busy all the time, do all this stuff, not getting the results you want, not optimum performance.
You know, exactly. We did a series of live webinars. We ended up doing one every single week. We're crazy, but we were testing stuff again.
Wow.
And we did 8 of them. And we did them on topics, automate your business topics, so from sales to staffing to financials, you name it. And what was really cool about this as well is we put them up in the way that we've talked. I just told you, we've turned them into podcast episodes, even ebooks. We have our first one out on Kindle. We've turned one of our webinars into a Kindle ebook as well.
Wow.
But we have found through just throwing those out there, the highest registrations we've got and the most, I guess, content engagement we've gotten have been on only 2 of those topics. So again, we know that because we can see how many people are opting in or how many people are clicking on those specific topics. So we can just kind of ignore the rest, knowing that people really don't care about it, and then just focus on the other topics. And Melanie, like a really cool way of tracking is there's a little program called Lead Pages, and then you just go over to leadpages.net. You do buy it. It works with WordPress. You can actually, in one click, install a landing page inside your Facebook page as well. You can do.
I'm buying it right now.
Clay Collins, the guy that developed it, is amazing, and he also created something called Lead Player, which is a little bit of a piece of code that you can stick on top of your YouTube videos on your website, which at the end of the video pops up a little opt-in box for people to get, more stuff with you. It's amazing. I mean, I love this guy. I love what he puts out. Brilliant man. So Lead Pages and Lead Player. But Lead Pages, basically what happens is you create them in this his platform, and you can put a plugin in your WordPress site to pull them across into your WordPress site. You can pull them across into your Facebook page, and you can even create something called a welcome gate, which is a one-time only web page that shows up to first-time visitors to your website. So it's a specialized web page that says, "Hey, welcome. Here's my cool free thing for you. Make sure you grab it before you head on into my website." So very cool system, but what's really great about it is it has a lot of good tracking inside of it. So for those of you that think analytics, Google Analytics, and all these statistics are just overwhelming, I am freaking out. What do I even look at? He has built-in tracking. So literally all you do is log into your account, and you can see how many people have visited the page that you've created, how many people have converted, meaning filled in the form or made a next step with you, such as clicking the Pay Now button and going to your thank you page as well. So it's a really cool little tool.
That is awesome. What a great tip. I'm so glad you shared it.
Sure.
So these are a bunch of great ideas. I know you guys have been working awesomely long hours, getting your business up to the next level. You guys have just really hit the ground running. You've become this huge force to be reckoned with. But I am going to assume that coming with all of that hard work and effort is some pretty big challenges as well. What would you say is one of your greatest challenges at this stage of your growth?
It's two things. First of all is staffing, because as we are growing as a business, we also are very careful about the quality that we're putting out. So we had a lot of our staff overseas in other countries, and what we've realized is that we want to ramp up our quality, so we're bringing more staffing in from America and Australia and the UK. We just hired somebody in the UK, and the staffing not necessarily is the problem, or having the staff. It's getting the right people, but then also the management of them. So the second problem we're having is being busy entrepreneurs trying to grow a business, wearing too many hats. One day we're the accountant, the next day we're the marketer, then we're on the phone doing sales and looking after clients, and then we're speaking, and we're putting together our speaking scripts and all that. So the problem is that when we have the staff, we're motivating them, we're doing quality assurance, we're making sure they're getting trained. Oops, there's a fire over here, I gotta run over there. I dropped the ball over here because I've never even finished the training process with my staff. So we're in that phase right now, working to get good staff, but also working really hard to figure out how to scale and go to the next level in our business.
Yeah, and I would say that that's a pretty common problem or challenge, for people at this stage of growth is you replace the doing with the managing, and you haven't quite figured out what that means to be leaders, and so you've got that middle stage pain where you haven't really got yourself out of being the bottleneck to leading the team, and really it's a shift between managing and leading. So that's a really common piece, and I think you're not alone in that one.
I'd imagine not, no.
Yeah. So as you guys have grown and evolved, have you found that there was a real game-changing moment for you where you were trying one thing and all of a sudden you realized, wow, this was not the direction to go, and it was kind of like a aha moment. You needed to go a different direction with something.
Yes, and I think you talk about this, actually. I've heard you talk about this, the whole 80-20 thing, 80-20 rule. we got to a point where, well, first of all, we started really proactively looking at our financials. So that was a big moment for us when we get on the call together, Andrew and I, who's my business partner, and we pull out the spreadsheet and we look through the profit and loss statements, and we realize that, of course, around 20% of our clients were actually losing us money. They were the ones that were more demanding, that wanted more of our time, that didn't understand the value of what they were getting. And at that moment, we realized we had to put our prices up so we could pre-screen and pre-qualify a little bit better. That was a huge moment for us, because the second we did that, we saved our business. I mean, if we didn't do that, we were going to go under, because we quite simply weren't going to be able to pay the staff, and because their time was getting wasted as well with those clients. So that was big moment number one, and I have to share another one just because of our background as well. Working behind the scenes with speakers, Andrew has as well. I can honestly say I never thought I'd actually want to be a speaker. I never saw myself standing up on the stage and being a speaker. But I do it now all the time. Like, I just got back last weekend from speaking to an amazing group of people, and it works. Any business owner, all of you, stand up, share your message, teach an audience, because to teach 100 people in one moment what you can do rather than one person on the phone is incredibly powerful. So the second Andrew and I started doing that, our business has ramped up tremendously as well.
Yeah, and I totally agree. I think I probably speak less now than I did in the beginning, just because I'm, not wanting to travel very much anymore. But I think that when you are speaking, whether you're speaking live, you're speaking through webinars, you're speaking through being hosted, or you're doing something like this where you're being interviewed and you're having a chance to speak and talk to a lot of people at once, all of these opportunities for leveraging your time, so important. And it's funny that you're talking about this, because I was in an evaluation conversation with a potential client last week, and she was telling me how she runs around to all these different networking groups to get her business. And I'm like, no. I'm like, we have to turn this around. We've got to position you as the expert. And so anyway, it's kind of fresh on my mind. So when you said that, I'm like, yes, you are right. That is a really pivotal point.
Well said. And I don't do networking.
I don't either.
That's not something that I, go out and do. Because I just don't have time. And so like you said, I'm really always strategically looking at how I can leverage what I'm doing. If I'm going to go speak on this stage, is it in front of my market? Is it a good use of my time? And that's another thing. I'm glad you said that too, because that's something that's been huge in our theme right now of our business, and that is it a good use of our time? Truly, is it? And if we have any little no bulbs that go out in the mind, we just don't do it.
Great. I love hearing that, because those boundaries, when you are growing at the speed of light, that's the thing that keeps you from being in the busy zone instead of the optimum performance zone. So good wisdom there.
Right.
Yes, you are. You're doing a lot of stuff right. Well, and speaking of doing things right, I think for many of us, there becomes a mantra or some kind of a piece of advice that we tend to use in our mind to keep us focused and to keep us in the right direction. Is there something that works for you?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Or maybe a quote that you tend to keep handy?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a quote that I love, but I also have something that constantly I say in my mind.
Okay.
The quote that I love is, "Beyond fear, there is freedom." And I use that in a way where if I get nerves around something, like yesterday, I just landed probably one of the biggest deals that I've ever done. And I was my throat was like literally up, my heart and my throat right here. I'm thinking, okay, I have to be really authentic with this client. I have to sound, really switched on, and I'm really freaking out because I'm going to ask for a lot of money up front. But I did it. So I'm constantly thinking about that. But the other thing I'm thinking about as well is, if it's to be, it's up to me. Because I cannot, as a business owner and as an entrepreneur, and I know you guys listening as well, when it comes to the end of the day, you started this business, I've started my business, I can't blame my staff for anything that goes wrong. It's problems in my business that I have to look at and I have to address. Mm-hmm. So it's truly up to me to make this work and to take care of my clients and my staff better if I need to.
I really like that.
Cool.
What is one thing you wish you would have done sooner that someone listening in could really benefit from in their own business trajectory?
That's the financials. So we were running a business for over a year, And we never even once sat down. This is embarrassing, but it's true. And I have a feeling a lot of people do this. We never actually looked down and analyzed our financials. We never actually said, how many hours does our staff spend, say, on building a website, and how many hours are we on the phone with the client, and how many revisions, and literally dig through what we were doing. And that, because if we had done it sooner, we would not have been in that really painful place that we got to a year in. So I know it's hard, but love your financials and learn how to read them.
Yeah, so do you guys create some kind of a system around that? Because I know a lot of people can find, as a matter of fact, this is what we deal with in Money DNA Mastery, is making friends with our money and learning systems and structures to do that. And so I'm wondering if you guys have a system or a structure that works for you around that.
Okay, so we just started something. We just started using something called FreshBooks, which is, I think it's just freshbooks.com. And we have outsourced somebody to data enter into our FreshBooks. It's both an invoicing system, which can send out invoices via email, really professional invoices as well to your clients. And it can do automated invoicing, but it's place to input your expenditures as well. So it's tracking your incoming, but also what you're putting out. We've just put that into place with somebody that's just responsible for that. But we're still quite rudimentary with what we do, but it works. And honestly, all we do is we have a spreadsheet, and we have tabs at the bottom for each month of the year. We have a big chunk that says staff, we have a chunk that says clients, and then we have expenses as well, and we literally enter it into there. Andrew and I have, we love Dropbox, so we have a Dropbox accounting folder, and we have that Excel spreadsheet in there. So we both, I've delegated him, or I guess he's taken the role on to actually do the entering of a lot of their data. But we get on the phone together, we both pull up that spreadsheet, and we just go through it, and we look at it, and we look at the trends that are happening. Are we spending more this month? Why? Is it a good why? And it's literally that simple.
I like how simple you guys have made that. And it's actually very similar to what I do. And I want to just talk about, for anybody who doesn't have a business partner, and because business partner will keep you accountable in that sense. Yes. But let's say you don't have a business partner, or you don't have a business partner who is as dialed in as Andrew is in this way. I use my bookkeeper in the same way. So my bookkeeper actually puts the finances together. We have the same thing with an Excel spreadsheet with different tabs for each month. And we have projections of what we estimate, and then we have the actuals. And we're looking at what's the difference, and what do we need to plan for, and are the revenues on track to meet those obligations each month. And it's one of the ways that I found that I keep my cash flow from going up and going down and going up and going down, is having that plan. So it's little dips, and you're planning for any spaces, and you can see on the horizon where you might take a dip in revenue. And so it's actually quite simple, but it's effective.
It is. Yeah. Well said. That's good.
And I'm kind of curious. I want to ask you about one other thing, which I think a lot of people might be curious about. You have a business partner.
Yeah.
And a lot of people fantasize about having a business partner. And a lot of people, some people I should say, I would say about 25% of the market that I've worked with, they have a business partner that doesn't end up working out. And they have like a big pain and trauma about a partnership. What do you think really, well, first of all, let me ask you, why did you guys choose to be business partners? If you don't mind me asking, I think a lot of people would really benefit from hearing the partnership side of this conversation.
Sure. And before I do that, I will say I've had different business partners in the past, because I know myself. I work better when held accountable and having somebody to share the pain and the joys with. So I just know I'm wired like that. So that's why I seek out business partners. I know a lot of people say stay away from business partners. And yes, stay away from them unless you, I guess, have done what I've done to find Andrew. And simply, I knew Andrew for quite a few years, and we both worked for a big promotion company for speakers behind the scenes. And what was interesting is we got to know each other under extraordinarily heated pressure cooker moments, traveling on the road, not having a lot of sleep. So I got to actually almost trial him or work with him in a different way and see in our worst moment together, putting out the worst, biggest fires, how did we work together? How do we manage other people? How do we manage the client as well? So I got to see him in that environment, and I knew that, okay, we work very well together. We can help hold each other up. when moments get really hard. And that's how we ultimately decided to go into the business, because that business we were both working with before kind of changed and went off into another direction. So that was our moment. We said, you know what, why not? Let's go into business together. So the only piece of advice I can say is don't go into business with a friend. And if any way possible, see how this person works under extraordinary pressure, because it is hard running a business. I mean, I don't know the last day I had off. To be honest, it's probably not healthy, but...
Oh, we have to talk, girl.
I know. So it's hard. You have anxiety and paying the bills and all that. So you want to make sure you've found somebody to share that with you that is not going to freak out and flee and is, works good under pressure.
Such great wisdom, such great advice, because when I have done the recovery on partnerships that haven't worked, that was the biggest part, was that they couldn't balance the load, and one person, kind of took off when the things got hot.
Yeah.
So that's good. So last question, really quick. I'm curious, because I think you would agree with me that picking the right ideas and focusing on your highest payoff opportunities is really essential. What works for you and Andrew when you're evaluating whether something's going to get the yes or it should get a no?
Oh, this is a good question.
I try to ask them.
Very good question. And you know what? It would have gotten a different answer in every stage of the business as well. Before, we would have actually said, is it something that, allows us to get other clients on board? Is it a way of finding referrals, for example, when we were more focusing on growing? Now it's not. Now the answer to the question is we only want to work on things that are scalable, that involve putting a system in place, that involve knowing exactly how much money is going to come in. So we're working on a big project right now that literally is that. I mean, we would know how many team members we would have to hire if we got this amount of business on. So we're also protecting ourselves. So once we get this amount of business on, we know we can very safely go get these team members on. We know how to get them. We already know the systems to put in place. So looking for things that are scalable, and also where there's a good markup or margin on them, rather than the old school thinking that we had, which was, will this project bring us more business and more referrals? Is quite the opposite at this time.
It's so perfect. I love what you just said. And you're right. Every stage of our business, that filter is going to be completely different. And when you hit the busy mark and you get really slammed, you got to be so discerning about what's going to get your attention, because it's a totally different game at that point.
Yes.
Great
Absolutely.
advice. I love it, love it, love it. And I'm so glad that you came on today to share this wisdom. And I would love it if you could share a tool or resource. Where can people find more about what you guys do to help that, what we might say, autopiloting your marketing?
Yeah, thanks for asking that question as well. So you guys can hop on over to AYB, as in autopilot your business, aybguide.com, and by the way, it's a lead page. So what I talked about earlier for landing pages and using lead pages, you can actually see a lead page in action and see how you put one together and what they're meant to look like.
Great. And I will be sure to post those resources in the blog when we have the blog version of this. And I want to thank you so much. I would like to hear, as you're listening, what's one of the great takeaways? What's a nugget that you're going to put into action? Share it in the comments below. Tell us, let us know. Heather, I'm sure Heather and Andrew are going to want to know what popped for you, because we're always doing our research, right? But share something in the comments below. Let us know what you're going to put into action, and share this with a friend. I'm sure some of your friends would like a few of these golden nuggets from Heather. So Heather, thank you so much for being here today. Can't wait to see you guys rock it some more. And hopefully I'm going to have to come over to Australia to see you, I think.
Yes, please. And we are going to have you on our podcast as well.
Oh,
so that will be very exciting.
Yeah.
And thanks for thinking of me and having me on as well, and having me share some of my pains and my triumphs.
You're welcome. All right, everybody, enjoy, and we'll be back in a week. See you then.